All right, well, since Joe is in New York, I'll call today's meeting of the Town Council Study Committee to order. We'll just do a real quick roll call attendance. So going around online first, Joe,
Here.
Tom Dixon,
Here.
Jill Veith.
I'm here, sorry.
Sure, it's all right. Bill Barber.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
Curtis.
Yep.
Jeremy is here. Donna. I'm present, and Caroline Balzer just walked in. She's just getting settled. It's there, and might as well go through everybody, and we have Lucy as a member of the public here. So
I think Lucy has probably better attendance than most of us on the. No, that's probably not true.
I would say
But thank you for coming, Lucy. So
most dedicated to work. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to accept today's agenda.
seconded.
All right, you seconded. So Strong Curtis,
Aye.
Caroline, Kelly,
Aye.
Bo,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Aye.
Jill, it's fine. Was I Tom?
Here. I mean, I.
All right, that carries. So as a quick announcement, this meeting is being recorded. We'll have it up on YouTube as soon as possible. And then hopefully everyone got the minutes from 10:30 and 11:06 that Kelly was kind enough to put together. Did everyone get a chance to review those?
There's one correction. I noticed.
Sure.
On the one from the 30th of October. I think we should include Libby's point at the end that she felt that our current idea was that we were giving the town manager too much appointment duty. I didn't notice that was in there.
Okay. What's the process for like amending that? And I just go in and fix it?
So if someone made a motion, then you would just make a motion to adopt the minutes as amended. Yep, all right, so moved by Curtis, second.
Second.
Bo, all right, Curtis,
Aye.
Carolyn, Kelly,
Aye.
Bo.
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Jill, all right.
Aye.
Jill's quick on the draw. Tom,
Hi.
all right, and that's, so that carries unanimously. All right, so I
And-
know,
Just a quick insertion there. So Kelly, if you want to add a little comment into the tail end of those minutes for to basically compose the fact that Libby was concerned that perhaps under town council she'd be having more, sort of too much work to do, or would have more work than she was hoping for. Throw a sentence in there, and then I can get them to me. I'll send them on to Maureen, and they'll be added to the website.
Okay, sounds good.
I think it was that she noted that the role of town manager would have too much appointment.
Yes,
duty.
yes, fair enough.
Years on.
all right, so I know we haven't met in a little bit. Hopefully everyone had a nice holiday. So just for today's agenda, I know we had some want to kind of take an assessment on kind of key tasks for the committee from, January to May. No, we also want to have a discussion about the sense of town meeting and the ballots. So I know, Joe, you had some thoughts for key tasks from January to May. Do you want to introduce that topic a little bit?
Sure. I guess what I was thinking was we've sort of, I don't know, in a certain sense, changed from being in a hurry to try to complete the charter and complete any other tasks in time to make a town meeting. And now that we've basically been informed that we're not going to be on the agenda for town meeting in May, I think our most likely town meeting opportunity is going to be a special town meeting that Libby said I think the town is planning for September or October, that I think is going to be anchored by the DPW building proposal that I guess is somewhat controversial. But anyway, I think there's going to be an opportunity for us to be before the town in the fall. But that sort of leaves us, I don't know, 7-8 months of time, and and what are the things we need to worry about. And I think the kind of the, I don't know, 4 or 5 key tasks that I jotted down here are: number one, we have to finish the charter, both for the town and for the county. And we have, I think, 3 or 4 sort of meetings with the Collins Center left on our contract. If we think we really need their help going forward, I think we probably can get a little more money from the town, but I don't want to sort of play that card unless we're sure we need it. But so we have to finish the charter. I think we have to compose a report for the select board and compose an article that would sort of wrap around the charter for the town and the county. I think we have to come up with some additional ideas for public outreach and sort of keep our topic in front of the voters. And then I think the other things we wanted to talk about are on the agenda. I certainly got the sense from some of you that I chatted with that there was support for the idea of having sense of votes at the town meeting in May and on the ballot. But I think some of you are not that convinced that that's a good idea, so we ought to talk about that today. I think that's it. So,
Right, so does anyone have any other thoughts on?
I have a comment on
Chris,
that.
go ahead.
I think we really need to start looking at getting to places like Rotary and I speak to the builders, but we've got to find the organizations that we want to reach. I thought we had agreed on both the sense of the meeting and the ballot questions, and we looked at them, but I am inclined to move that in that direction as well. My whole point is, we can't go fallow for 8 months. We've got to keep letters to the editor going, keep the current involved, and as many organizations as we can.
All right, so just for everyone and online, Rachel joined the meeting as well, so Rachel.
Sorry about that. I was trying to be there in person, but
Right, Carolyn?
I sort of agree with with Curtis. I mean, I think we do need to stay in front of the public, and that's sort of what I was thinking about in terms of thinking through our public outreach activities, and I don't know, come up with a calendar as well as other organizations similar to what Curtis mentioned. So that say February through May or something, we've got a couple of things every month where we're either holding a public forum the way we did back a month or so ago, or we're visiting with other groups other than homeowners associations, so that we kind of keep our subject matter in front of the public.
Carolyn?
I think that with one of the citizens articles that's been proposed, I think the author might be here with us. I think that it frames a conversation with the public that's a little bit more focused than we've been so far. And that is, there's an article that will be, in my way of looking at it, affirming town meeting and adjusting it. And that's going in front of the voters at the next town meeting. So that will be a conversation that's focused around that. And I think that in our staying in front of the voters with our topic of town council, that we should tune ourselves into that and pay attention to it.
Jeremy?
As to whether or not we will be in front of the voters this May for a discussion, an indicative vote or whatever, I actually think, I've been thinking about this a while, I think it is an important thing. Because, well, Curtis, we should do an outreach to all the different groups. The true constituency is gathered at that meeting.
That's why I think we should have the sense of the meeting information.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying, is that I think we should be in front of the voters for a sense of their perspective in May. So
And hopefully it can go at the front of the agenda, not at Article 97.
the diehards at the end.
Sure.
Well,
Carolyn?
I'm just aware that where we are, if we were doing that, then it becomes an actual conversation with the article that's going up for vote at that town meeting, which I think is very interesting because as I said, I think that article it's obviously trying to interest the voters in the current form of government and how to make an adjustment to it. So it's a conversation then that's happening at that one town meeting. And I think that we need to discuss that.
Well, it's an educational opportunity
Mhm.
at that point, because there, like everything else, there will be a lot of misinformation, assumptions that aren't necessarily correct. But this gives us and the town an opportunity
Yeah.
to discuss it.
Definitely.
And both can be on
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
platform, so it
Yeah.
gives you a chance to look at plan A or plan B.
Yeah,
Right, Bill?
What if they say no?
Well, it's a political process, right? And if they say no, you can fine tune it. You have an opportunity to, I guess, ferret out what are the issues. And then you have an opportunity to address that.
My question is more for Tom. What if the voters say no? At the sense of the meeting,
Mr. Chair, may I?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think I'm not seeing the sense of the meeting as really an adjudication either way, right? It would be one, this is my own opinion, right? And I can also, I guess, comment generally what I heard from my select board colleagues when we talked about this. But my opinion would be that that would only be one data point. And like we've talked about here and also at select board when Joe was there, was that it may be a different and maybe a broader slice of the community at the ballot. And depending on who shows up at town meeting and who comes to vote that day, et cetera, those would be two data points. So I think we would all take those data points and then see where we're at. And I think that's the kind of the, not to be overly obvious about it, but take the feedback from the information sessions from all the folks like Lucy have come to our meetings and take that under consideration for fall town meeting. I wouldn't, if it's either way at town meeting, I am certainly not going to take that as, oh, well, there's an answer. Like the town, meaning Nantucket, the voters don't want that. That would be one data point because it could be 183 people on the floor. It could be 1,800. You just don't know. I don't know if that answers your question, but those are my
I
thoughts.
agree with that, and as Tom pointed out, the ballot tends to get quite a few more people, and it would be interesting to see if they both were one way or the other, but they're data points, not decision.
You know, this last election, there were 7,000 people voted in this island. But the high ticket, the physical is me approaching 1,400 people.
Mhm.
So again, data points.
Mhm.
I don't know why I'm raising my hand, I guess. I'm
Right.
gonna go first, Joe, and then I'll let you go.
Okay, no problem.
I think I have some concerns about town meeting for a couple of reasons. One, I also don't want to create a potential for confusion and have people start to do well, I voted for it at town meeting and then I voted for it at the ballot and now I'm going back a third time. I think making sure that the process is clear of what you're voting for and it's a sense of meetings. And then I also get concerned whether it's, through the select board or through the public process around it is, when it comes to review or further review of things, I don't want to see a data point get used in a way to stop process on something from a non-binding question, right? And I think that going to town meeting and asking that question, unless it's abundantly clear that if that result comes back and it's not carried and that sense is there, that it gives good reason to be able to say, well, why are we investing more time and energy into this if town meeting has already said we're not interested? I'm more interested in the ballot that way, because I think you get a much larger cross-section. I think Jeremy just indicated the broader voting, and obviously, you know, we see that historically. I just don't want to see a lot of effort that's been put in on a non-binding question and that effort, and to be sure that that's kind of safeguarded. All right, Joe, you're up next.
Yeah, I guess just to add on what people have said, I guess I've already personally felt that town meeting, because you know, I would expect the folks at town meeting in May to be sort of the regular population that goes. I think our odds of getting a positive vote are probably low. But like Tom said, I think that's just sort of one data point. And I look then at the ballot, where we've generally had 2 to 3 times the number of voters that tend to show up at town meeting most of the time. I think our, if you want to call it, odds of a successful or a positive result are probably better at on the ballot than at town meeting. But both of those things, both those situations are going to depend on how well we kind of keep this issue in front of voters throughout the spring and into the summer. And then another sort of, you know, I don't really want to call it push or, you know, sort of round of publicity prior to the fall town meeting, so that, you know, people are at least aware that this is a topic on the warrant in the fall, and hopefully that encourages more people to show up than might otherwise show up for a town meeting. I think that I guess I've always felt from the beginning of our committee that we have less chance of changing people's minds of the 300 or 400 core, whatever you want to call them, folks who really like town meeting, than we do of encouraging a slug of voters to come and you know, for what they think of as the last time to come to town meeting and vote in a new form. I think we need to get more people to show up than we have a better chance of getting more people to show up than we do to get people to change their minds. Anyway, I'll stop.
Curtis?
Is it possible that we could just announce at town meeting that the question will be on the ballot, to let people know that it's coming up and that there's an awareness of it, but not to make it a vote at town meeting, but tell them this is what will be on the ballot in a week or two?
Personally, I'm not afraid of a negative outcome on the May meeting. I mean, I don't think we're going to have the opportunity to encourage extra people to show up just to vote for a sense of the meeting vote. And but if we do a good job in the spring, people are going to be aware of what's going on. So I don't know.
Donna, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, would town meeting be an opportunity to distribute information as people walk in, or is that not allowed, or is it something to consider?
We actually got shut down by Sarah last town meeting. I think that she does not. I don't want to put this. She basically told me that, you know, sort of people who are proselytizing of an issue are not appreciated, I guess. Although some people do hand out pieces of paper prior to town meeting, but I got the impression that, you know, kind of a sales pitch, if you will, on our issues. She discouraged it.
Even a progress report?
Well, we'll certainly have the opportunity to give progress reports to the press and in a sort of a PR and outreach campaign. I'm not sure we're going to add that much personally at you know, at town meeting, but I don't know what the rest of the committee thinks.
I mean, I think that could be a question that we ask in regards to, you know, this was formed through a town meeting article. If there's an update or report to hand out at town meeting from a previous article, that can certainly be something that we can ask Sarah if it's allowable.
The progress report.
Or even FAQs.
Yeah.
Well,
Jeremy,
you know, we sent, you know, we did send Libby back, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago, kind of a couple of paragraphs that would be the description and explanation of what our committee has done leading into the non-binding sense of the meeting vote certainly at town meeting. And it would be on the ballot as well. I would think Sarah would allow the committee, me, any of you, the opportunity to stand up and give a 2 or 3 minute description of what we've been doing and why we think this is a good idea to change. I just don't know what the audience is going to be like and what the proportions of folks that might be pro or con they're going to be.
Joe, I think you have 5 minutes. So we have I see 2 reasons to do this. The first is in those 5 minutes, you can educate. And you can explain what we've done and why. And then the thing is that then people get up who don't like it and tell you why they don't like it, whatever those issues are, or people tell you why they're in support of it. But that gives you an opportunity also to rebut why people don't like something. So I view this as a great opportunity to elicit the stated objections and to educate.
Well, I guess if I may, since I kind of went down the devil's advocate path a little earlier. I don't know that if the sense of the meeting question has the same rules of debate as an actual warrant article. Where you may not get that response. I think that would be a question that would need to be answered, because if it's something where there's not an introduction and then some level of discussion, if it follows that same legislative path as a warrant article, or if it's just, this is the question in front of you for the sense, maybe there's a little bit of discussion, but if there's not, and it's just to a vote, you may not get that opportunity.
So let me follow up on that if I could. Does this also provide an opportunity, or could this provide an opportunity to go before the finance committee to get a recommendation? Would we want one?
If it's not an article, it doesn't go to the finance committee.
No, because there'd be no motion. It's just a simple yes or no.
Having said that, we probably ought to, I mean, the finance committee is probably one of the people we probably ought to meet with. There certainly will be a relatively friendly audience.
Well, what does our representative think, Joe?
Hold on, I'm trying to get my video going. Sorry. So it sounds like we don't know if can put this on in May or not, right? I mean, we just don't know because we don't know what's in the warrant.
Well, it's definitely not going to be on the warrant as an article. I think the issue
No, I
under
know that.
discussion
I
here
just
is the
just
sense
make-
of vote.
Yeah. I can tell you right now that I think a lot of people in the finance committee would really endorse this. I mean, it would endorse doing it and giving people the option to give feedback. I don't think that's going to be a problem, if that's what you're asking. That's my gut.
Anyways, we have a parliamentary question, but none of us seem to know the answer. Do we have, with the construct we're seeking an indicative vote on, do we have an opportunity to talk? How can we find out the answer for this?
Google it. I mean, we could certainly, I think we could certainly reach out to Sarah as the moderator. She would certainly know the answer
Yeah,
to that
you're
question.
gonna have to get.
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
And find out what the rules of procedure are for a sense of the meeting vote. So
Same with the finance committee.
I think what's good about the finance committee, sorry, Jeff,
Oh, no, go ahead, Joe.
is you're going to get a lot of feedback from the finance committee before May. So that might be a good little focus group for you. So maybe one of your outreach should be to come to the finance committee sooner than later. And I say that because we don't actually have as many warrant articles this year so far, not citizen warrant articles, which typically take up a lot of time. So I think we will be meeting less frequently than we did before.
Caroline?
I'm still just going back to if we don't have a sense of the meeting vote at town meeting. So that there would be no conversation from us and no handouts, because as I recall, it's that anybody who's not on the town meeting agenda, those are the people who can't hand stuff out. So if we're not on there and we're not taking a sense of the meeting vote, then the article that is on there, which is, it's like the other half of our question. It's interesting, it's getting the voters to pay attention to and put energy around how they feel about town meeting. And it's a reaffirmation process of town meeting. And if that happens before we are putting our topic out there, then I think just from a process standpoint, it just kind of glitches and doesn't fit. I think it would be frustrating for the voters to have to deal with one half of it and then have to wait to the ballot or the special town meeting to deal with the other half of it. So it just seems to me like those things really do fit together now that the other group has formed its question and has taken its spot for the Springtown meeting. I think that we need to respond to that for the voters. I think it's more organizing for the voters to have it in the same conversation.
Can I just add also, Jeff, I know that you're concerned about it failing, but usually things this big fail for a long time before they get passed. And if you all want it to pass sooner than later, then I think having it fail sooner would get it to pass sooner, if that makes sense. And I don't think it's a failure either if you don't get the vote that you wanted at town meeting. I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I don't. There are plenty of huge turnaround in votes from year to year. Huge. Like I'm shocked sometimes, like thought that failed and then the next year it passed. I think it just marinades.
Go ahead, Donna.
I think it's still a two-pronged approach. I think it would be very helpful, as people have said, to meet with Sarah Alger and explain our interest and see if what it will agree to. And the other is what's also been suggested is during the winter, which is perfect time, when there are Rotary Club meetings and so forth, meet people, and discuss what we're doing. Those people are voters. They're on island, they're voters. So if you keep that up, that raises the level of awareness of what we're doing throughout the winter, and then see if Sarah Alger can do something so that we have some sort of a presence that's agreeable to this committee.
I'm certainly happy to give Sarah a call and find out, it seems like we need to have a better sense as to what the sort of parliamentary process is for a non-binding sense of the meeting vote, whether or not we, as the proponent there, have the opportunity to speak and promote the idea, as well as the issue of any handouts or, sort of summary report or whatever the heck we might want to hand out. I can give her a call, not a problem.
I also suggest on outreach that you might want to, there's a lot of volunteer boards on the island that are appointed already. I mean, it seems like it's a chance to ask those boards if you can come, and whether it's make comment, a public comment, or get on their agenda. That those are great people to reach, because those are people that are definitely going to town meeting.
So should we recess for 5 minutes? You want to make a call?
Well, we better get her in.
I know, but it's worth a shot. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
Call Sarah. No, I'm just wondering what the rest of the call who? Well, Sarah.
Sarah Alger.
Right, Jeremy.
On a separate issue, if we were done with this one, I don't know if we really discussed how much to recommend compensation for the new council members should be, but I would propose moving it more to a market oriented, better market, which means higher money, as opposed to a volunteer kind of thing.
I would say if we're gonna discuss that, we should put that on as an agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's significant enough that we probably shouldn't just discuss it.
Okay,
It's a little outside of.
I think, you know, Jeff, probably one of the meetings we're gonna have to, after we get the charter more or less wrapped up, I'm sure we're gonna have a meeting where we go back through and sort of have affirming votes on, you know, number of signatures. That there were a whole bunch of things that we've kind of talked about. I noticed them in the minutes. There was some comments that in the minutes that Kelly composed that I wasn't sure that we actually took the votes that he said that we did. So I'm just thinking we're gonna have a meeting where we go back through the whole thing and take formal votes on various decisions within the charter.
Can I, all right, so I'm against this. There's a myriad of ways that the select board can make contingencies to not hand over money or delay any funds that come from them to further pay for our legal process here. Okay, and this is one step that could go wrong. So that's why I'm against it. But if Tom is saying there are no contingencies, or that maybe they'll think about it, then I'm less reticent to be against this. Okay. I just see pitfalls.
And bro, just to be clear, this is the sense of the meeting vote at the town meeting and the sense of the ballot vote on the election. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
And another, yes, and another reason really is because we haven't done the outreach. I mean, we've done some. But what are do the voters know what they're voting for? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you want to discuss. But are they fully educated on what this is? At the meeting.
All right, Rachel?
Yeah, sorry, since I was late, didn't want to jump in if I wasn't sure, but I echo Bo. I'm not sure I support this. I would go with what the group does, but even when I read the sense of the meeting and at the few sessions that we have had public outreach, without an actual document for people to look at, I would think that most people would be hesitant to agree to any of it, even if they are sort of in support of continuing to explore it as a process. And I understand what Jill's saying in terms of, you know, sometimes these things fail anyways, and you just have to keep going. But I guess why the rush? And if we don't have a full charter that is completed by us with our formal votes, that's been reviewed by legal and admin and finance committee and all these other groups, and have them as part of our discussions and process, which I'm not sure we're going to get that done by town meeting in May. I feel like it's a little premature, and you have details in there, and you're going to be up there talking about it, you know, in terms of compensation of people or how many we have. And if people disagree on those level of details, or legal or town admin or whomever, I just feel like the feedback that we're going to get is not going to be helpful. And if we can't debate on town meeting floor to get that response, and obviously there's no debate on a ballot, then I don't see the value in it right now. And I mean, I understand what people are saying, and I get it, but I feel like there's more value in going to the finance committee separately and doing things like that, instead of just throwing something at the voters and saying, hey, what do you think about this? I just don't know if we've done enough outreach and will by then that people, I don't know, I get that data and input is important, but I don't know why it has to be at town meeting, that's where it's done.
All right, Jill?
Well, I think we want town meeting because it can't get passed at all unless it goes to town meeting. So that's.
Right, but why May? Why not?
Oh, I don't,
There's a special, why not the following year? Like, how long is the legal process gonna be? What if?
But because
I just feel like it's rushed.
No, that's good.
because the
Jill,
legal,
go ahead.
sorry, but Jeff, you can clarify, the legal process is we need we need town council to look at the charter that we've done on the committee. So that's a whole other level of cost, I think, for the town to pick up beyond the group that we've hired. So I think that's
Right.
where our I don't get the idea, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, that the select board's gonna ask town council to review our charter until they have more feedback. So we could do our work and complete as far as we can go, but for them to then turn it over to town council to actually put in legal form, to have the voters vote on it formally, I think that's what I heard.
All right, Rachel, go ahead.
I feel like there's a lot that goes into the funding of this that keeps coming up as well. So why wouldn't we then ask for the select board or whomever to, or a separate article or something to provide funding for this group to continue that work? I mean, I think we heard from Libby that said, you know, we're not sure where the money is coming from for the legal review or things like that. And if that passes, then at least that shows support too. If it doesn't, you know, are we shooting ourselves in the foot? I don't know. I understand the process. I know that there's a lot more to go. I'm just afraid that people are going to get so wrapped up in the details at town meeting. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do a sense of the meeting. I'm just concerned with the way the language is now and where we're at in our process to get enough out there in time that it's going to be valuable for us to do it in May.
All right, Donna?
From what I've been hearing, it's really, the town meeting is just an opportunity to reach people who we really want to convince that town council is the way to go. But it's just saying, we're just presenting kind of where we are. We're not, you know, going to be defending anything. We're just publicizing, if we're able to, with Sarah Alger's blessing, to just present to the core group we're trying to reach anyway. And I think it is very important to address all of these Rotary clubs and all the other boards that are out there all winter long, and talk to them, build the consensus meeting by meeting. So you've got a foundation. So when you come to the annual town meeting, then you, if possible, then you talk about who we are, again, a quick summary. This is what we're up to. If we can hand out something, great. If not, fine. And then continue along our path. We're too late for May, the May ATM. So I think it's important to let them know, again, who we are, what we're up to, and move along.
So if I
All right, I'm gonna go to Tom and then I'll go over to you, Lucy.
Yeah,
Yes, Tom?
Mr. Chair, I have a suggestion. I guess there's several outstanding questions on. There are kind of two tracks, right? There's the process of the whole thing, and then there's the kind of the work, the nuts and bolts of it, like what the details are. And I thought it was really informative when town council came to, I believe, our first meeting. I think it was Lauren Goldberg herself, the principal of the firm, and gave us a briefing. And then John Giorgio obviously commented at select board. Maybe we could ask John Giorgio or somebody from KP Law to come to one of our meetings and give us an update about kind of what they think about where we're at in the process and how much legal work would actually go into it. Because I think there's two separate questions. There's the political and kind of public outreach part of it, and then there's the actual nuts and bolts of the details and make sure I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and how much it's going to cost to pay for the legal work of it, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, I kind of throw that to you guys for possible consideration, that might lend us some answers on kind of how to move forward.
You want to take it? Lucy, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, I agree with Paul, like, I don't think people realize what town council is. And when we were collecting signatures at the Stop and Shop, and we would ask people about town council, there was very few people that wanted it, and those that did want it, when we asked them what it was, they really did not understand. So I don't know for that sure what town council means for the people. And I do think that you can hand out flyers that are not connected to town meeting, like 50 feet away from. That's what we were told last year, 50 feet away from the school. Oh, there, Mike. Yes.
I vote.
So we have a group of lawyers writing a town council charter. And then we need to pay another group of lawyers to review the charter. And the charter is based on a bunch of Massachusetts town charter boilerplate. Okay, this is why it doesn't make sense to have the executive's legal team, if they don't want this, look at the charter. Does everyone understand that that might be a conflict? Especially if if their contract may be renewed under the new system.
All right, so Rachel, with their hand up.
I understand what Bo was saying, but I highly doubt the town's current council would allow a bypass of a review of a charter anyways, and I doubt the select board would probably support that. But going back to what Donna said in response to mine as well, if the sense of the meeting is more of if we have, or whomever, the chair, put it on Joe and Jeff, have the opportunity to do it as a check-in and be very clear that this is just where we're at in the process. And like what Tom said, get some more definitive, here's the 2 paths, and provide that to the public. So they know, like, if you vote for this, it's not like we're doing this and then you're voting for it at the very next town meeting. If we can truly frame it as here's a check-in, here's what our progress is. And if we can get some debate at town meeting, I would be a little bit more inclined to support the sense of the meeting in May, because then I feel like there's a little more value and input than just a yes or no. I mean, I'm not sure what that's going to tell us outside of not having debate. That was sort of my point, I guess. So I think getting the process and the procedure information, like Joe had mentioned, is, I think, pretty important for us to decide, or no, so that we can move forward.
All right, Tom, then Joe.
Yeah, I guess my response to that would just be like that. Yes, there are many other charters in the Commonwealth that are similar, but we have, as we've been briefed on, and as we all know, some uniquenesses to Nantucket being a town and county, that we have special acts and the HDC and all kinds of stuff that we need legal help with to make sure the charter is in proper form, because it has to be perfect to even think about this. So I guess that would be, I'd leave it there.
All right, Joe.
Just a couple of points. I think everybody should, be cognizant of the fact that, we're pretty well through drafting this charter. And I think that over the next 3 or 4 meetings we have with Collins Center, we should, at the end of that process, have a town and counties, a set of town and county charters that are reasonably complete and sort of buttoned up. All due respect to Tom and his representation as a select board member here, I kind of sit with Bo on this, on the legal issues. KP Law, wants to tell us and tell the select board how they've really got to go over this with a fine-tooth comb. I don't buy it. The folks at the Collins Center are, at the Collins Center they've written dozens of these charters, and I'm not saying that KP doesn't have to review it, but this isn't going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars of legal work. It just isn't, or it shouldn't anyway. And lastly, I think I appreciate Rachel's comments. I think they're very thoughtful, but if we don't keep momentum on this, just keeping this committee together will be difficult, but we're gonna have, you know, if we're gonna sort of slide past town meeting and slide past the ballot and look at the fall, and then maybe we're looking at May 2026. I'd be very concerned about our ability to keep this subject in front of the voters and keep, you know, just listen to what Lucy said about folks, you know, folks at the supermarket, sort of not even being aware of it. This is not exactly, you know, stuff that people are thrilled to talk about. And I think that if we don't do the best we can to keep it in front of people, and, you know, if we lose the vote in May, we lose the vote. But I think I'd almost rather the PR with, you know, losing effort than you know, than skipping it and moving to a date further out in the future. Anyway, I'm done.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Sam.
Yeah. So isn't the committee sort of talking, or has been talking about asking the select board to sponsor this article? Because I just, as my representation of this committee, I can give you my take on this, right? And it's just my take. There are four more other board members, and the committee is more than welcome to finish up the charter and to submit that to the select board and ask them to put on any town meeting. You don't necessarily need me. I'm being cautious of that it has to be right, that that when it goes to the voters. That's my only bottom line. I am not trying to obfuscate. I'm not trying to throw up roadblocks. I am not trying to say, oh, we need to jump through all these legal hoops. I am not saying that. So please don't, you know, put that kind of on me that I'm doing that. So if the will of the town council study committee is to finish up this charter and ask the select board to sponsor it at, say, special town meeting in September, October, by all means, 100%.
All right, Dana.
I think momentum is key. The committee has done a terrific job meeting every other week. We've got a lot, we're almost finished with the charter. So I think, again, these small meetings all winter, it's a perfect opportunity to engage with people who are voting and who can vote for town council. The other thing is, and maybe I'm naive about this, but is KP Law, I mean, are they supposed to have a neutral position in this endeavor, or not? I mean, are they supposed to help us, or are they biased in some way? I don't understand what's the whole thing with KP Law. Just throwing it out there. Nobody wants to answer?
The executive signs their checks.
I,
All right, Joe.
just to throw my 2 cents in, I have no issues with KP Law, Donna. I mean, you know, they're the town's attorneys. They do a fabulous job. You know, I'm really not particularly suspicious of them, but I think the practical reality is, and if I was on the select board, I would feel the same way. They're not gonna promote or sponsor an article for, you know, conversion to town council form of government unless their attorneys, KP Law, explain to them that the documentation is all, as Tom called it, perfect. And I get that.
Okay, I get that.
My objection, you know, was really just that I dispute, you know, the sort of KP's Don Giorgio's comment in a meeting a couple months ago. I just don't think it's that gigantic a project, and they don't need to rewrite the charter. They just need to make sure that it's incorporates all the particulars of Nantucket's current charter appropriately. So anyway, but it's the select board's decision as to whether they want to fund that work. If they don't want to fund that work, then we have another issue.
I see. But actually, when this warrant was passed, wouldn't the idea of having the town's legal firm already, I mean, that should be built into okay, you want to go ahead and you want to investigate a town council, well, then therefore, you know that you're going to have KP Law review it afterwards, so that money should be available in order to affect the process.
Not,
Jeremy,
I don't think so.
Okay.
certainly can ask them how much it's gonna cost before they really do any work.
Yeah,
Raise my hand.
Wait a minute. And by the way, Bo, on your issue, there is so many deal technologies and legal technologies to get around the issue you're discussing. You can have the term sheet, you can have what we put, and you can have what they end up with, and then you can have a third law firm come in and ask them, any funny games go on in here? There's plenty of technology to deal with that possible conflict.
The way that we could game this. What if KP Law says, okay, this is gonna be $100,000?
They have,
Which I gotta tell you, I would think, I'm sure Joe would agree, I gotta think that's a high number.
Yeah, but
Well,
like, that, the town does this all the time. $100,000. It's gotta go to legislative. Sorry, it's gonna have to wait till next town meeting. You see what I mean? Like, this could kind of go on if there's a gatekeeper for a long time.
All right, Joe.
So me, as it me, I want to just remind everybody, that the select board and Libby, the town manager, have been extremely supportive of this committee. I mean, nobody blinked when we asked for money for the Collins Center, and nobody blinked when we asked for a little more money. And as I think I mentioned earlier in this, you know, I think if we really needed another 10 grand worth of the Collins Center, Libby would find the money, and my guess is the select board would support it. So I understand that some of us are a little concerned about, you know, how much support the select board and others in town government would give this initiative, but I have to say they've been awful supportive so far, and I don't and that's not to say we all agree about everything, but I think they've been very supportive and have given us the resources we need to do our job. So I think you got to keep that in mind too.
I guess I'll go next. I mean,
do it, excuse myself.
all right. Thanks for coming, Chris. I mean, I think my way in again on this is, I don't disagree that I think, you know, KP Review will do what they did, but I kind of listened back to first kind of what Tom said about the select board putting the article forward is you're asking the executive branch to recommend changing the legislative branch. And I think that puts them in a tough spot as the board. And I know Tom only represents one and the other ones may feel different, but I do agree that asking one branch of government to kind of continue pushing on potentially changing the other side is a tricky spot. But I also think going to town meeting, maybe I'm just not seeing it, is I just don't know what's gained from doing that. All I personally see is if it doesn't pass is a reason for people to stand up and say, we don't need to put more effort towards this. You know, why is the committee still meeting? Why are we asking for legal review? I mean, I'll be the one to say it is, if someone came back and said it's gonna cost between consultants and further review to put this forward, it's gonna cost another $50,000. I know for a fact there are individuals that are gonna go to whatever meeting that comes up and they're gonna say, the town meeting said they weren't interested. Why are we investing money in this at all? And it may not come from the select board, it may not come from someone else, but public will raise that question. I mean, I think we've talked a lot about momentum. I think the risk of this is a total kill of momentum. And I get that things sometimes don't pass and marinate and do those things. But at a fledgling stage, unless we can really get the word out and get everything out there and clear, I think all it does is put a giant hurdle in the way. All right, Joe.
Can I ask you a question, Jeff?
Sure.
And this is for everybody, and it's a very political question. Do you want the select board to endorse this?
Personally, I don't think we can ask them to. I don't think that's a
No, I
fair.
know,
ask them.
but if they're giving money, they kind of are, right? They're kind of endorsing that. I mean, that's as much of an endorsement as I think they can give, is to give us some money. But I think it's worth considering, like, who do we want to build momentum from? You know, do you want it to look like it's kumbaya between the town and the voters or not? You know, and what warrant it goes on actually would be important. This year, I'll be very honest, and I'm the chair of the Capcom committee and I'm on finance committee. There is a lot of new money being asked to borrow this year. So I think there's going to be a lot of, here's the town and here are the voters. You know, I don't think everyone's going to be in lockstep this year. We don't know in the end how much will be on the warrant, but it looks like a lot. And that's why they're going to potentially a second town meeting. You know, we're not sure. So maybe we should wait for that to unfold, but it is just something I want to throw out there for y'all to think about.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like, I personally, again, to kind of answer that question that you asked me. I don't object to asking the select board those questions or doing that, and I understand what their role is. But I also, you know, really take seriously what Tom said is. You're asking them to make a very difficult stance on something where you're looking at one branch of government affecting the other functionality of the other branch of government and the sticky wicket that can be. And
I agree, which is why if their town council is reviewing it, I mean, do you want them to do that?
well, I mean, they're gonna review it one way or the other when it goes to town meeting, right? If it goes on as an article that's sponsored by the town, or it goes on as a citizen article, or it goes on by other means. I mean, town council reviews everything that goes onto the warrant, so.
Yeah, no, I know, but do you want them
Review is,
to
and
say, hey, we put this in proper form or not? That's what I'm saying. And I hear y'all saying that that's kind of
no, I
duplicative.
think that would be great. I mean, I do, and I think KP is more than capable of doing that. I don't think that's the question that I have per se. I mean, I've kind of outlined what my concerns are. Mine aren't the legal review, and you know, I kind of also understand that lawyers reviewing lawyers and kind of that endless stream, but I don't know. I'm just struggling to see where it is. Obviously, if the committee votes one way, you know, it's what majorities do. So, all right, Joe.
I just to respond to Jill's question, I don't think we're asking the select board to endorse our proposal. I think you should remember that this committee was formed because of an article at town meeting. So the legislator did, you know, basically put this in motion. And the select board, as the executive, has provided us the resources and the funding to do our work, which is to respond to Curtis's original article. And I think that's what we've been doing all along. So
I agree with you.
that's the way I look at it, and I don't think we're asking for the select board to endorse this at all. And I guess I disagree with the, you know, if we are relying on a select board article, I don't think that's really being in competition with the legislature. I think that's just enabling a duly appointed committee to do its work. And if they would like to support us with this by having a select board article, that's great. On the other hand, with a fall town meeting, we're going to have the opportunity to do a citizens article anyway, so we may or may not really have to have the select board do that. Tom, you raised your hand. You probably want to discuss. I also wanted to offer another, just if Rachel, to put the onus on Rachel, if we're not going to go for a sense of the meeting vote on the town meeting or on the ballot, what do you propose that we do for the next 9 months? So anyhow. Sorry, I'll stop.
All right, go ahead, Tom.
Sure.
Yes, Tom.
Point of clarification. So, maybe this is semantics or I misheard it, but the difference between supporting and it being a sponsored article is what I'm digging at, right? And I think that's where Jill and maybe others were. So there's sort of like whether we endorse it as individual select board members or as a body and put it on the warrant is one thing. Whether we're for it and voted on a town meeting floor is is sort of another, although they're tied up. So I guess my clarification would be, does the committee intend to ask the select board to sponsor the article, to put it on the warrant as a town article? Or is it just further, we want to continue the committee, ask for funding for the continued funding for the Collins Center, maybe some money for KP Law to make sure that the final charter is in proper form, and then put it on the warrant as a citizens warrant article from a block or from the committee, or however it would work. It would probably be, like 4 names or 5, whatever. So that's my question, because those are completely separate things that I may have, the difference between sponsor and endorse may be different in some people's definition here.
Fair enough.
Anyone else? Rachel?
I'll just respond. I think my thinking is annual town meeting is that we've had a special town meeting pretty much every year for a while now, and I would expect maybe I wouldn't try to go the path of asking the select board to sponsor an article. I think it gets too much in conflict in a way, based on a lot of the comments that people have also said, where you have executive and legislative branches and things. So I don't want the momentum to stop. I've always been a big proponent of keeping the momentum going. My thing is, I looked, and we haven't had too many sense of the meeting votes at town meeting. They're not an article, so they don't go to an article number. They're right at the beginning. I cannot recall, maybe Jeff does, because the fishery, I think, was the last one. There really is no conversation about it. If it's just a check-in, fine. I would say that we need to do far more outreach and spend not an hour talking about what our next outreach steps are and how we're getting the different parts of the charter out to the community and explaining to people what town council is, instead of spending an hour debating on if we do a sense of the meeting, that we're all in different opinions here on what benefit that's going to be. Some think it's a good benefit, some think it's not. And even looking at the last sense of the meeting on the town voter guide, it says, it's non-binding, but can be used in legislative hearings on the proposed changes. I sort of agree with where Jeff is going. I don't want a no at the ballot and town meeting to be our stop of momentum. And I didn't think of it in that way, but I think that is really where my concern is. And I think Bo sort of echoed that in terms of the support of funding and things after, or people saying, well, we already voted no on this. Why are we doing this again? This always happens, because that's kind of a theme you hear from some people when something gets turned down and it pops up again. So that's my only point. I honestly don't, any way that we can get debate and feedback from the community, I am fully in support of. I'm concerned that this could be used against us, I guess, in terms of momentum. And I just wanted to throw that out there, but I will go with the majority of the committee for sure.
All right, Caroline?
I'm assuming that we are planning to do a lot of public outreach, like go to Stop and Shop, like what we did with the public forums, and that is what we've decided to do over the winter. And so with our having done that, that's a lot of education, it's a lot of conversation, and that will address what Lucy has brought to us from her experience getting signatures, that people don't know what town council is. So if we have done that, and then we arrive at town meeting in May, do we not consider that we are better prepared to represent what we are and what we're suggesting as a committee, and take a sense of the meeting vote at that point? Are we not presuming that that's what we would do?
Both.
Well, if we're shooting for special town meeting, the next 9 months is gonna be a barrage of writing in the paper of public outreach. Each of us is probably gonna have to write our own couple of op-eds on the subject, and that's what it's gonna take to get it over the finish line. And I think so, yeah, Rachel's right. We're gonna have to do that, and that's gonna be every meeting that we have from here on out.
Joe, I saw you raise your hand too.
Yeah,
Oh, mate,
I'm,
sorry, Jill, it was,
no, that's okay.
go ahead.
So I guess what I want to know from Bo, Jeff, Rachel, if y'all are opposed to since the meeting, what is, but you still want us to do a lot of outreach. I mean, I do want to remind everybody, like, most people that come to town meeting, they don't know about anything that's in the warrant when they get there. That doesn't mean they didn't have opportunities or there weren't ways to find out, but I think a lot of people show up and expect to listen to the debate. I mean, I think that's what it's about, so I wouldn't be scared of that. But what is it that you propose we do? Just have a lot of outreach and then have it on the warrant in the fall? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes.
Me
Go
specific,
ahead, Rachel.
I'm not necessarily opposed. I just see some major concerns with it. The language that we have for the sense of the meeting seems too definitive to me. And I'm afraid of that. But if it is framed in a way, or we have an opportunity for Joe or whomever to just say, here is where we are in the process, this is just a check-in, then yes, and I think that is a way, that is a PR, that is a way to get it out there. And you're right, sometimes there's things that come up that people didn't know, or there's debate, and that's how some people learn of some things that are articles. I'm not saying it's not a good way to get the word out. I'm just saying the way it's getting out there, and I mean, I've talked to people ad nauseum and some are just like, no, that's too much power and too many people. I'm like, but okay, so let's talk that through. And they sort of come around, and I'm just afraid that too many people are going to say, no way. And I'm not giving away my right to vote the same way other people might say. So it's just a weird forum to do it in, to get that PR, but it's an option, I suppose. I just don't know if it's the best option. And you're right, not a lot of people attend public forums and to get that debate, and more people do attend public annual town meeting. But it's right at the beginning, and I don't know.
I think if I can respond to that, I mean, I'm kind of in the same view as Rachel. One, I would want to know what level of, presentation can be made at town meeting. Because if it's just what's printed and then a snapshot reaction, then you're just getting that. You're not getting any of the debate and feedback outside of what's going on outside of the meeting already. I mean, I agree, as much as we can get the word out is important, and we need to get it out as much as possible. But I also don't want to needlessly put up hurdles for us to have to overcome as we go.
Okay, well, so can I ask a question follow on that then? So
Sure.
if you just put it on the warrant and it's the charter and it gets soundly rejected, what is your follow-up to that? It's getting rejected in a sense of the meeting is like something to start from. To me, that's what's good about it. But if you actually put the charter on and you have this debate and everyone says hell no, let's say, and I'm not saying they will, by the way, I thought we got really good feedback at the public feedback that we got, that we've had, I thought was helpful and positive. Usually people want to come to meetings like that to give you the negative response. I think people came to give us positive feedback. But if on the whole, we have 1,400 people to turn out and they say no, like pretty firmly, then what's the plan?
Well, I guess I'll flip that question around and say, if they say no for the sense of the meeting, and it's that same result, then what happens?
Because that question, the way Joe phrased it was really good. It didn't say that you had to commit to voting for it. It just said, do you want the opportunity to? And that's what I like about it. It's not saying you're committed to it, you're not committed to it. It's, do you want to know more? It's actually pretty much a leading question, to be honest. And it indicate, I mean, I think it's going to get a positive response personally because of the way it's worded.
All right, Joe.
I think the model for public outreach, at least in my 12 years of living on Nantucket, was Michael Kozort going around and selling the new school about 9 years ago. And, he did a remarkable job meeting with every citizens group you could possibly think of. We have 5 months between now and town meeting. I'm not saying, and I don't think, I'm certainly not Michael Kozort. I mean, we're going to have the opportunity to write letters, as Bo suggested. We're going to have the opportunity to run other public forums the way we did. We're going to be able to go out and go to the Nantucket Build. I mean, we can do all that stuff. But in the end, you've got to take a sense of what have you accomplished and what have you communicated and taught people. And I think you have to be willing to take the risk of losing. And I still think, getting a sense of the meeting vote for the town meeting, followed by a sense of the ballot vote, are going to give us two important data points as to, number one, what do the voters and citizens of this island prefer? And number two, have we as a committee changed any minds or maybe not even changed minds, but just educated people about this opportunity enough that they're willing to change their minds? And I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm willing to lose. I think that I think we've done a good job so far. I think we've had, as Jill just mentioned, we've had some reasonable feedback. There are clearly people on the island who like town meeting, but I think there are a lot of people on this island who think it's time to throw it in the trash bin. And at some point, you got to get up to bat and give it a shot. So I vote for sense of the meeting votes on both forums. The town meeting and the ballot.
All right, Donna.
Yeah, I think even instead of saying it's a question of win or lose, really, this is all about gathering information. We're not winning, we're not losing. We want more information to know how to continue to do our job or respond to things that we think maybe we've inadvertently missed. So it's not a win or lose. That's the way I look at it. It's gathering information and presenting information.
And if I can just sneak back in, I'm not going to be surprised if we have a losing vote at town meeting. I will be surprised if 3,000 people vote in the election and we lose 70% of the vote to 30% of the vote. I think if the election comes back and we're soundly trounced, that tells you that, gee, a pretty good slug of this island doesn't really want to change. But I don't suspect that's what I personally would be willing to bet the other way. I think with 3,000 people voting, we would win the day. But who knows? You got to get up to bat and see what happens.
Right, Caroline?
So I want to know from Jeff and Bo, if you guys think, if I'm understanding you correctly, that if we go to sense of the meeting vote at the town meeting in May, that it would actually harm our cause, not just not help it, but it would do damage to it. And can you explain more of why and how?
I'm not afraid of being told no. My problem is the contingencies thereafter, which are going to be hinged on this question by people in the executive. So that's my problem with it. And yeah, I mean, gathering information, fine. We're not going to have debate because if it's a sensitive meeting, from what I'm understanding about the process, it's just going to be a question. We're just going to vote on it. So there's not going to be any debate at the meeting. I don't think that helps us. And yeah, that's the contingency problem that's going to come from this. So just be warned that if that's the way you want to go, that's a possibility that we may have to deal with. The lack of funding or support.
I guess my concerns are a little bit different. To answer your direct question to me is, I'm not afraid of being told no, but I also strongly believe that you're also then building momentum for people that don't want that change.
Mhm.
Because it's really easy to go around and then say, you know, when it's up at special town meeting and debate on town floor, this meeting has already said we don't want this change. We did it at the last annual town meeting. Why is this change? What has gone on to make that change different? We've already said we're not interested.
Mhm.
Why are we even talking? Right? That's what you're gonna have to overcome again.
Mhm.
And that may not come for a certain like set of people, whatever, but there are people who are against this change that will use a negative vote from a town meeting to then shoot holes at that potential change. I mean, you're giving people ammunition to stand against what you're trying to push for.
Mhm.
Right, go ahead.
And since there's the other article that's going to, definitely gonna be voted upon, that will add to the conversation of we're all voting in this direction to keep town meeting. So it's another way for us to consider. So I think what I'm gathering from you guys is we're talking about strategy of how to get our message across. And just because we're devoted to public discourse and holding more sessions to inform the public and correcting that problem that we do have, does not mean that it's necessarily it's good timing to take the sense of the meeting vote. Even though, yes, it should just be an open thing where, hey, it's more data point, hey, what's the harm? But I think I'm understanding that there might be some harm if we are not in a position to represent ourselves, especially in contrast with the other article.
I mean, I guess to comment on that, right, I'm in the business of data collection,
Mhm.
right? Why are you collecting data if you're not gonna use it,
Mhm.
right? And data that's publicly available is available to use by anybody. And if that data is saying that this is the direction of that meeting, if you want that narrative to continue, you're gonna use that data,
Mhm.
right? Like, again, I know I sound like a stick in the mud for all of this and trying to subvert public process, but you know, and if the will of the committee is to go forward with it, you know, that's fine, and I'll support the committee's majority action. I just think long-term, if you give a reason for people to speak negatively about it and have better data than you have for why that position is more supported, then you're pushing a real big rock up a real big hill, because you're gonna have to overcome that too. All right, Lucy.
All right, so a point of clarification, so the sense of the question, like, so there's no debate for it, but the people are gonna vote, is that right?
That's great.
We believe you.
That's what I was gonna make a recommendation as a member of the public. Joe is going to reach out to find out if in fact at town meeting, there can be a presentation and debate. We don't know that right now, I believe.
No.
And so away from your data argument, I understand it, I'm not sure I agree with it, but there's I believe, an education opportunity. But I would say that in many ways, everyone's going around and around until Joe gets an answer to what we're able to do at a public forum.
Yeah, man, I think that's a big part of that question.
Right, so but if there's no debate and are people gonna vote on something from one side, is that?
Well, that's what Joe's gonna try to find out.
Oh, okay,
Or they would just vote on
like
the question that was asked as printed.
Right, but even like having something at the town meeting is, whether it's negative or not, it's a good thing, because then you know the negative thoughts, and it's up to the people who come and ask you guys the questions that they have, maybe you might get more public outreach.
All right, Donna.
Yeah, so just getting back to what Joe had said earlier, you've offered to meet with Sarah Alger, and you'll find out, what she is comfortable with. Maybe it's just a presentation of a couple of minutes, or maybe it's asking for a vote, but we don't know yet, as Jeffrey said. So I think let's move on to something else. Until Joe has some information for us.
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly have chatted with Sarah before our next meeting in early January, and we can, sort of close off that issue.
Maybe, do we know, Joe, since you're the one that talked to Libby, would we need to have this decided by? Whether we want to have something for a sense of the meeting on the warrant?
I don't know, actually, if I can skirt Tom, do you remember when I think the warrants wrapped up in second week of January?
Yep, correct.
Well, sounds like we better hurry up, but why don't I, I'm back on island, Friday. I'll try to I can give Sarah a call tomorrow, and I'll keep trying to reach her until I do. And then, I can circulate to the committee, sort of her, decision or guidance on that, on what we can do, how a non-binding vote occurs and what the proponents of that vote are allowed or not allowed to do. And then, I can share that with the committee, and if you all want, at that point, I can either take all of your feedback about, yes, we got to go forward with the sense of the meeting vote, or no, we shouldn't. And we can certainly have in effect, an email written consent, or whatever you want to call it, an email vote, to make that decision, unless all of you folks want to make a decision right now.
Email votes are tricky. We might
Mr.
have
Chair.
to- Yes, Tom.
We adopt the warrant on January 22nd, so at the very latest, we'd need it 48 hours earlier. But obviously a week, or at least a week earlier, would be better.
Well, I'll still try to reach Sarah ASAP. So
I mean, I guess, Joe, if it helps, process wise, if we get that answer, we only need 48 hours to post a meeting, even if it's remote only, and can have that debate and settle out. And I think we can always schedule one before January if we absolutely have to.
Sure. No, I'm like I said, I'm back on island Friday night, and I'll be around for a couple of weeks. So. So we've beaten. That's been a pretty lively debate here.
It's like your most spirited debate to date.
Oh, good.
So,
Love it.
all right.
Good thing it was cold in there. Can't imagine what it would have been like if it was hot in that room. So.
There's been a lot more tame.
Yeah. A lot of hot food around. So.
We're keeping ourselves warm.
All right, Jill, you had your hand up though.
Yeah, Joe, do you remember, because I texted Denise and she said there was a sense of the meeting 6 years ago. That was before I was on FinCom. Does that ring a bell? David was chair then. I'm going through the.
I don't remember.
And I don't see any question.
I'd have to pull it up. We've had two sense of the meetings that I can remember, at least in the last decade. One was related to, limiting a certain type of fishing gear off of Nantucket. That I know Pete Kaiser submitted in his role as county fishery liaison. And then the other one was brought forward by the Nantucket Coastal Conservancy, I would say in either ATM of 2012 or 2013, I think, related to the town pursuing like pedestrian access on beaches and things like that. So those are the two that I remember off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I could talk to Pete as well and see how that went.
Sure, we can find it. Yeah. But I don't recall.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Tom.
I was in Rep Fernandez's office at that time and sort of was a part of that. If I remember correctly, it went through unanimously. I don't think there was much debate, but I think there was a statement, if I remember correctly. And it went fairly quickly.
Yeah.
It was small mesh fishing gear. I might have some documents on that I'll send to Joe if I can drum them up.
I'm sure I have them too. I actually think, not to contradict, I know for a fact there was one person that voted no.
Oh, okay.
So,
26.
but
Well, the other thing Denise said is that FinCom, they can make recommendations. I mean, I would think they don't have to do that, but she said that they've done that in the past.
so it sounds like we just have a little bit of homework to do on that, that we can wrap the conversation up. All right, I guess kind of moving on the agenda. Any other public comment or questions?
It's cold.
It's cold in here.
right.
So wherever you guys are.
Need to adjourn?
So, all right, Jill has made a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Yes, please.
Caroline seconds. All right, Joe?
Aye, yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Rachel?
Hi.
Tom?
Aye.
Caroline?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Vote? Aye. Chair votes aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks,
Ciao.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate
Discussion.
everybody's comments.
We'll be in touch.